Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Cantey, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. I love to help people integrate spirit, mind, and body in order to live each day with that deep sense of purpose, passion, and fulfillment. And I really love finding other like minds who enjoy doing just the same. And today I have with me Robin Jelinek, who's quite well known for channeling the group consciousness called Athena In Truth, and for her expertise in Kundalini awakening. And she has written a channeled book entitled Choose Your Universe, an exercise in freedom, which I have read and given a 5-star review. Today, we're exploring some captivating topics, including aligning with your higher self and living fully in your passion and power, knowing that from that place, you can create anything you truly desire. Both Robin and Athena are so amazing and empowering, so stay tuned. Welcome, Robin Jelinek. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being with us today. And before we get started, I always like to invite our listeners, our viewers, to just take a moment and listen from your whole being. Really listen with that intention that you will recognize and realize and remember something wonderful about you in this podcast. And I was going to do an introduction for Robin and the group consciousness that she channels called Athena in Truth, but I'm going to let her tell you her story. So, Robin, how did you get to this point in your life? Where did it begin?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to know that everyone that is on a spiritual journey is out there picking up breadcrumbs and in the way that it feels good to them. It's kind of the same way that you discover what it is that you'll do in life, who you'll marry, where you'll live, all those types of things. So, spirituality isn't really any different than that in the way that you want to experience that awakening. There's a way that you want to feel in it. Do you want the loud bells and whistles? Do you want a lot of excitement? Do you feel like if you suffer a lot, you're going to be more rewarded when you finally reach the place or point that you've made the connection that you've been desperately looking for? So all of those things are actually playing a part in the way that we will experience our spiritual opening. And all of them are okay. None of them are wrong. You are to enjoy it and to choose, pick and choose what it is that you love to do. My early 20s, I was always on a spiritual path. I loved reading material about it, read hundreds of books, would read to my husband in the car whenever we traveled anywhere. He didn't have a lot of time. He was busy working, and we were supporting 2 children at the time and running our own water well drilling business in northern Wisconsin, which I worked in alongside of him. So, those were just busy times. And I think it's important to know that this spiritual awakening is also very cognizant of the timing in your life and what is going on in it. That would not have worked for me at that time. I had way too much work in our business and I was raising our kids, probably was way more concerned about what people would think of me back then and not be able to really handle the scrutiny that I might come under doing a job like this. So there were many reasons that I maybe didn't come into connection with what it is that I'm doing right now back then. And so, sometimes you have to look at that. If you're really desiring an experience and you haven't gotten it yet, can get very downtrodden or feeling as though you're not able to manifest what you want. But you really have to let the universe be in charge and to have trust in knowing that when the opportunity is right for you, the experience will come. But it's not necessarily going to be what you think as a human, that you're the one that's going to decide when that's going to be. So I would say between 20 and 40, just a lot of reading, a lot of study, a lot of interest, and just enjoyment. Just loved it. Then in my early 40s, I had the good fortune of meeting another channeler who became a good friend of mine, and I had a lot of private sessions with hers, and I loved it. And that actually sent me into listening to more channelers and recordings, and in the discovery that this actually existed. And then I loved the way that it made me feel when I listened to it. So I did that for a while. And then right around the age of 42, 43, I had a Kundalini awakening experience, and it's something that is undeniable in your experience. You feel everything that you've read about. There's a lot of noise, a lot of bells and whistles that come with that experience. And I remember thinking, oh wow, I had a Kundalini awakening and all the things that might come with it. And really, all that came with it was a lot of suffering and a lot of self judgment and condemnation for about 2 years, because I had a partial rising. I didn't actually read a lot about Kundalini energy until after the awakening occurred, and therefore it created a lot of trouble within me because that energy doesn't really care so much about you. It has a job to do, and that job is to clear the vessel out so that the soul aspect of you can flow through you. And that includes removing any negativities or repeat experiences that you're having over and over that are stuck inside of your body that are causing these things to keep repeating themselves. So, what happens when you raise your Kundalini and you have not done any self observation and you don't have an understanding of how you're creating in your experience? You get an understanding of it in a hurry because you get so many mirrors coming so quickly, and it actually creates a lot of suffering. That's what happens to a lot of people. So that went on for about 2 years, where my experience got very flat. I just wasn't really enjoying life the way that I did. Friendships just didn't seem the same. I didn't find the conversation interesting or worth having. There was just lots of things going on that kind of flattened my whole experience out for a while. I just wasn't looking forward to things that used to be exciting to me in my experience, like getting stuff, going places, fixing myself up. I, of course, went through the motions, but it just didn't hold the same attachment that it once did. And I didn't realize at the time, you got to be killed off before you can be reborn again. And that includes shedding a lot of things that you think are making you happy, and that you have to have in your experience in order to be happy. So I went through all those phases. And about a couple years into that, I had another experience with the Kundalini energy where it actually came down through the crown or the top of my head. I didn't even know that was possible. That was something, even though I had read tons of books about Kundalini energy, and I still to this day have not heard of anyone having the energy enter through the crown, but that's what happened to me. It felt like a jackhammer that hit my head. It was another one of those moments where you couldn't deny the noise, the pressure, the slight bit of pain that you felt when it broke through the top of my head. And then I felt it run through those centers where I had an awareness that it had not gotten down through the heart center. And it was shortly after that that things really started to even out in my experience. They started to feel better. I started to enjoy things again and give myself permission to be both on a spiritual path and a human path, that I didn't have to cut one out in order to have the other. I think that's what you go through at first. So I went through that for a while. And then between the age of 40 and 60, what's really interesting about Kundalini energy is it ebbs and flows. So you'll have periods of time where you'll have lots of bodily movements, lots of kriyas, lots of desire to sit with yourself, to allow this to occur. And then you'll go through a year or two where you do nothing, where nothing happens. And it's like it didn't happen at all. So it's kind of confusing during that whole process. Then I would say in my early 60s, I was drawn to do some more sitting, had a lot of kriyas. That was always going on in the background. But then there was an uptick in other experiences. Lots of automatic mudras started to come through sign, which I had never been taught or even knew anything about. Lots of shaking, lots of excessive yawning, like times 1,000. Just a lot of bodily movements where my body would be thrown one way or another. My mouth would feel like someone had their finger in there pulling it. Very strange things were happening. And then one day I just posed a simple question to myself because I struggled with confidence and I wasn't understanding why, because I was good at a lot of things. And I asked, in very earnest and authentic way, I would say, I'm 60 years old. When's it coming? It's if I'm not going to get it, it doesn't have much time anymore in my life. And I remember just sitting up and not doing it. I remember my head going back and not doing it and feeling like a breath. Something drew my breath in. And then the voice said, how do you like the way it feels? A woman in her confidence. And I knew in that moment that that was not me, because that's not anything that I would ever do or that I had ever felt in my life before. Of course, when all this was going on, I would run out in the living room and say to my husband, my arms are going all over the place. My eyes are doing this. My mouth is doing that. And he'd be like, whatever. He doesn't isn't against it, but it's not. He's a lot of other things he's more interested in. Let's just put it that way, in a good way. I didn't get much feedback out of him. And then I mentioned this thing to him when it occurred. About 2 weeks later, I went on a trip with my son, and my husband was along. It was the full moon in Aquarius in February, I believe it was. My son asked. well, what have you been experiencing? And I briefly told him. The minute I started talking about it, I could just feel my whole body start to move, and the sensation started. And of course, they could both see it. And my son said, "Well, if something's in there, why don't you come out and talk?" And that's actually when the first speaking began. It was not comfortable. It felt like it hurt my voice box. I was really hot and sweaty. I ran through all of my clothes that I had packed for the weekend. And I remember thinking that this is not really very enjoyable. It is uncomfortable, you know. And of course, they couldn't ask enough questions. And I tease them and say, well, they asked the wrong questions. They wanted to ask about politics and about things that sometimes, as teachers, my group isn't really all that interested in participating in. They're more interested in supporting people in living the lives that they came here to live. So there was just a lot of that kind of thing going on. Then fast forwarding a couple of months, the first 2 months were rough. I felt as though my life had been ruined, that I couldn't do anything because this was on me 24/7. They were talking all the time. They were getting my husband up in the middle of the night. He'd say, "I like to read my paper in the morning. Is that ever going to happen?" And it was like life just got disrupted, you know. And then I realized, as I made a big emotional proclamation, this is not working for me. And they said, "Well, then stop thinking about us. When you think about us, we are invited, or that's what calls us forward." And I'm beginning to realize that that's really what calls the universe to anyone. It is an answerer of questions. It wants you to ponder what it is that you want to know, and then it will flow through you, the response, and they actually come right through your energy centers, and everyone has that ability. So once I got that understanding, I stopped thinking about them a lot more, and then my life kind of balanced out and got a little bit normal. I could be in a group and think, well, I wonder what they think about this, and I'd feel them right away. I can control it, and I'd think, no, not here. We're certainly not going to do it here at a luncheon where I don't know anybody very well. But they are thought provoked. That's how they come forward. So that kind of gives you a quick overview of kind of my story and what went on. And I would say the last few years have been yet another unfolding and discovery about myself. There's been ups and downs. There's been periods of time where I just didn't want anybody to find out what I did because I was, you know, thinking they were going to think I was crazy, or that the old Robin would somehow not exist, or be known the same way. And that happened in some
That's what I
cases,
was gonna say.
but I was
It does
worried about it.
happen.
Yeah, but, you know, but what happened was I realized that there was something outside of me, the bigger than me, that made transformations within me, that when it actually started to happen, it wasn't near as bad as I had forecasted within myself that it would be. It didn't bother me as much. I've gotten much better with it. I know that there are a lot of people that now know what I'm doing, and I'll see them, and I don't really have a lot of thought about it anymore, or concern like I used to. I've kind of gotten over that aspect of it. But you know, there's definitely you know, there's all kinds of things you go through as a channeler. You feel, because you have the ability to do what you do, that you put yourself last, and people will be calling you for sessions, or family members will have questions, and it's like, you at some point, you have to move into this self honorment phase where you decide to, you know, I have to set some hours. I have to, you know, I can't just drop my dinner plans and channel for an hour because it's being requested in that moment. So those are all things that I had to kind of navigate and balance out within myself. And actually, those were things that were already in me. I was already having a difficult time with boundaries. I was always one that
Right.
just did whatever was asked of me, and I had a hard time saying no. And this just magnified that. That situation, and then what happened was, I realized that even that I was bringing to myself when uh, once the self honoring became part of me, the request just stopped. That kind of thing just didn't come to me anymore. It wasn't an issue, you know. It was
Of
just something that I
course.
already had within me. So that's kind of my story.
I love your story, and there's so much, but I just want to touch on, because I think for this audience, you know, there's so many people that are at this point, and I some things that you said really sparked something for me, and that is in the beginning, and you said. I think you might have said for 20 years, you know, you just read, you know, you read and you and I relate to that, and many of my friends. And the point to that for me is to surround yourself with what you love, to surround yourself with what inspires you, to surround yourself with what is giving you that like-minded, even if you don't have a friend who does that, or if you don't know anyone personally who's awakened, go on a retreat, or request a channeling, or be with someone who has a group of people that do something that you find enjoyable, you kept submersing yourself in what you
Yeah.
knew in your heart you loved. And
Unknowingly, I didn't really understand what I was doing to the degree kind of what I do now is we all have a spark within us and we're throwing a log on the fire. So every time you're reading something, you're stoking that fire, that understanding or that wisdom that is already within you. It's not about the practice and it really isn't about the book that you're reading. It's about being able to
I
request
agree.
an answer to something that's important to you and get a very not necessarily emotional response, but a very sound and solid and clarity view that comes through you from the divine part of you that just gives you that wonderful, truthful knowingness that you long for in your life. So, you know, what I've gone on to understand is that all of the things that I chose in the form of educating myself or in practices were just logs I was throwing on that fire. That's all it really was. And that's why
But
I
I,
tell people, you know, throw a
I'm
log on
sorry.
it, love it, but don't throw logs on it. You prefer not to be burning. Like if you don't like meditating, or you know, you don't like going to silent retreats, if there's something that's truly not aligning to you, there's no need for you to do that.
Absolutely. It should be what you love and
Yeah,
what sparks your
absolutely.
interest in your creative energies. But the other thing you said is when you did have your partial Kundalini awakening in about 2 years, and it was kind of rough, and you had lost some meaning, and you know you were going through the motions, and I just wanted to point that out too because sometimes a spiritual awakening, a Kundalini awakening, whatever we want to call it, a stage of self realization might not feel like we think it is supposed to feel like. And I really honor you for just continuing on. You said you went through the motions,
Yeah.
and I feel like there was something in you again, that knowing, that spark within you that knew it's still, not
Well,
to use the words good or bad, but it's
I'd
still
like to take I'd like to take credit for that, but if you shake up a bottle of, champagne and you pull the cap off of it, it's coming out, you know? That Kundalini energy, once it's been released within you, you don't really have a lot of control, and even now, it's funny that we bring this up. I was, in the car with my husband this morning, and I said, "You know, sometimes I don't wanna do any of it. Sometimes I just, but I don't know, there's like a driving force or something that drags me forward in that direction, and that's when you realize that this separate, consciousness, the Kundalini energy, which is the individual consciousness that lies at the base of the spine of every human, when you pull that cork out and that, energy gets released, it's residing in there alongside of you and expressing, and so
yeah.
just like you're living your life and you're loving your children and your husband and you have duties and things that you do for you, this energy is the same, and so it begins to express through you, and you just allow it. And even though sometimes the human is rebelling a little bit, it just happens anyway. It's just like it just is a given. You're just going to do it. That's how it is.
So that's a good question. Did you give it permission, or were you trying to say enough? No.
Mhm. Oh, there were times when I wish I had never activated it, and I'd say,
Oh,
just I
okay.
want you to get out and go back into wherever you came from.
Genie back in the bottle.
The genie back in the bottle, but that isn't gonna happen. That
Right.
higher, energy or aspect of you, whether you remember it or not as a human, it's part of you, it's connected to you, and so but that is a very common thing. In fact, a lot of the letters that I get from people that are struggling, that have had, a partial rising or, a spontaneous, rising with no idea that it was coming, they definitely are can be miserable, and they want it to go back, they wanna put it away. But not everybody has that. And so what's interesting about Kundalini is some people can walk out the door and trip and have their Kundalini go off, and other people can meditate for 30 years and get no response, you know?
Right.
So it's hard to say that it's actually brought on by a practice, but there's all different levels or areas that you could be at in it. You might have had an activation in a prior lifetime, so that energy might already be active. You're not going to do it every lifetime. So it's a one-time deal. Once it's activated within you, those centers have become responsive and open, and so it's hard to really figure out exactly where someone is. They may not remember in this lifetime. However, they might be starting at a point that they left off on in another lifetime. I know by the channeling that I've done that Jesus went on to open up all 122 centers within his vessel. So you open the 7 energy centers, which then go on to work independently inside of you. They actually assist in doing the work. Once you get those 7 open on your own as a human, they will go inside of the vessel and gradually start opening up all those little nadis, all those little chambers within the nervous system. And I'm sure he took many lifetimes to do that. Who knows how many?
Mm.
But that's just to have that understanding that this is kind of a individualistic journey that you're on, the awakening of yourself. It's a sovereign journey really by yourself. And you're not really sure exactly when it's going to happen, but there are things that we can do to make our life better, and that is lifting off energy that's held in our energy centers, that's creating unconsciously in things in our life that we don't prefer to feel, and that has a good effect on your overall life. So it's a good thing to do on your health, and all those things. And many people do get a kundalini rising using that practice.
So letting go is a big process. Letting go of the negative energy. Your book is really good about that. It really explains, I think, for the reader, just the process of how you can really let go of the story, let go of what you think is happening, letting go of perceptions, the ideas of right and wrong. You
Yeah.
lead the reader through a lot of that. So it's a wonderful book, and I invite everyone to grab that. But it's also about, then the other side of that is allowing, is what I'm hearing you say. It's allowing life to live itself in, through, and as you. And when we have a picture, when we have that decision of what it has to look like, we're really contracted around that. And it just makes it, I think, a little harder to, my phrase, love your life and live your passion, because it wants to live itself through you. And
Yeah.
that's what I hear from you a lot is, this wonderful passion that you
Yeah.
have, and that you want to share with others. And that other component you mentioned a couple times, self-love, self-honoring.
Well, and it is about surrender. And what else can you do but surrender? Every time you've had a desire or a feeling, that's gone out of the field. It's gone out into the universe. It's expanded you and the universe as a whole. That feeling has been received. So when you move into regret, when you move into condemning, you move into judging for what it is you've already lived. That negativity that you're feeling is directed between you and you. It doesn't have anything to do with what you've actually done. It's the idea that you're trying to do something right now that can't be done. That's why you're not feeling good as you move that direction. So the wonderful thing that I've really learned on my path is I can feel every stinky feeling I want to. I can have any stinky thought that I want to have or not want to have. And I don't judge it and condemn it anymore. And therefore, it moves out of the field very quickly. And I know that there's a preference because of it. So I'm not condemning and judging anymore. But that's not something that I learned to do as a human, because the human is the one that just feels the experience and releases what's felt. The divinity part of you is the one that culminates those experiences into something that you're going to like to feel. So I don't effort, I don't try to change what's felt. In fact, if I can't stop thinking or feeling it, I just allow it. I just leave it in there. I'm not worried about it. And I just kind of am assisted by the flow of the divine. So the love of self means I surrender to free will. I surrender to the idea that I have the ability to choose how I feel in my experience. Anything. There's no cap on that. And then my source, the divinity part of me, is going to love me unconditionally in that feeling. It's not going to expect me to change it or condemn me or judge me for the way that I've gone about my experience. And so those two things alone really woke me up to the idea that I can stop policing myself. I can stop worrying that I have to catch everything I say and that I have to be some kind of a model citizen or do everything right in order to be worthy. I kind of gave that up. But what happened in the process was the flow of the divine that comes into you in the agreement of what you have felt
Mm.
changes you. It actually does the change for you, and there is no effort on the human part at all. So then you turn into like this very natural, authentic person. You might swear, you might say whatever it is that you want to say on your mind, but you get received in love because you're emanating from love. And you don't have to change everything about yourself to have the ability to do that.
That, what you just said, I really believe that you don't have to change anything about yourself. It's really becoming more and more and more of yourself. And I got that from your book. You talk a lot about authenticity, your authentic expression. And I just feel like we are all so unique. We're such a unique expression from the same source, though. So we can recognize, this love, or this energy that we share. but it's so unique and so special. If we're trying to
Mm.
kind of conform to our culture, our society, our family, our self, our own ideas of you said, right or wrong. I should be a good person. I should
Yeah.
be a spiritual person. And you, you said you can swear, you can smoke. I remember a friend was like, I didn't think you were supposed to drop the F bomb.
They wouldn't want to be in my house.
I was like, just for emphasis. I don't know. What am I supposed to say? But I
Yeah.
laughed. It's like it's we all have just, I hope, this wonderful, unique expression of really who we are, being in the moment, being fully alive in the moment. And there
Yep.
is and it's living us. You mentioned that too. It's and it's effortless.
Yeah.
And so we go from trying to effort things and create things and manipulate things and control things. Like, if I keep it all right here, I can be in control. But there's that beautiful release. And then for you, it happened as a Kundalini awakening, and then another Kundalini awakening, and this wonderful channeling.
Yeah, yeah. And as you talk about the state of authenticity, I think that was one of the things too that precipitated my journey or the awakening. Because what happened was I started to, through the release of that Kundalini energy, I started to look at all of the inauthentic places that I was expressing in. I didn't like it. Didn't feel good to me. I was very judging and condemning. I like to swear. Funny you brought that up. In fun. I don't do it when I'm mad, but I love to do it in fun. And I wasn't doing it in certain places. I thought, "Oh, I better not let myself out here. I better not really be the person I really am. This person might not accept me," and, these types of things. And as I did this, and this is a cautionary thing for everyone that's listening, is I lost touch with myself. I started to not really know who I was. I started to feel like I was, conforming to what everybody's view of me was, or that I thought that they wanted to see. And it moved me into a really disconnective and not happy with myself state. And then one day I decided, and that this was probably even in my 50s before the channeling even started, I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to bring myself everywhere I go. I'm just going to let it out. I'm going to let that person, that swear word, that whatever it is, whatever I feel, I'm going to actually let that be known, even in places where I thought it wouldn't be accepted. I'm just going to do me. And oddly, what happened is people loved it. I realized that the cage that I'd put around myself, I'd done by myself, that it didn't actually pertain to those people at all, that it was something that I myself had been doing. And there was great freedom in that, and an understanding of my experience improved everywhere in that authenticity, in the relationships that I started to draw to myself, in the prosperity, in the way that I felt, in the things that I was participating in. The whole level of my experience improved just by moving into that authentic state, that I was somehow denying myself because I thought I wouldn't be accepted in it. And what is it that people can't really accept? They don't like an authenticity. They don't mind if somebody's got a snarky personality, if they let it out and they're uh, possessing the ability to embrace that, then you like them. And it's funny because years before, I remember making the comment, "Why is it some of the people that I like the least, I end up liking the most?" It's because the ones that give you exactly who they are, it's kind of a little bit of a take back or a shock at first, but then you learn to appreciate it and align to it. So that's kind of been my discovery too in authenticity.
I totally agree with you. I can just think, as soon as you said that, people who are, they're kind of curmudgeony or whatever they are,
Yeah,
but you think it's adorable because
yeah,
because they're really standing in it, and and there's something so honest and sincere about it. Like, I don't, like, it's their authentic self,
yeah.
and it's endearing, and so we like them. I mean, we appreciate them. I mean, we may only
Yes,
tolerate them for so many,
yeah,
but but I appreciate the honesty. Yeah. So
yeah.
many of us are
You know
hiding
what?
behind that mask.
Yes. What I'm starting to discover more and more is that levels of consciousness that start to reveal themselves to you. They're kind of, I've talked about this before, that it's kind of like going through puberty. It's like you just kind of naturally evolve, and all of a sudden you recognize one day that you're different, that you've changed from a little girl into a woman, or from a boy into a man. But there was this process all in between that happened that you really didn't notice or pay attention to. And that's kind of how the opening is in your spirituality. And it's kind of how it is when you're shifting into other dimensions. I was posing a lot of questions within myself. And when I do that, that's when I usually get the biggest response from the group that I channel, and myself sometimes. I was really wondering, because I've been told a lot that telepathy is going to be part of our plane eventually. It's going to be another sense that will enter, that people will start feeling as they rise in consciousness. And I would think to myself, well, how is that going to come in and not be troublesome? I mean, if I hear everything that somebody's thinking and they hear everything that I'm thinking, if it gets that way, that's not going to be good. There's going to be a lot of mad people. I don't know if I want to know everything my husband is thinking, or my kids or whatever. So I remember pondering this for quite a while, and then I had a number of experiences with telepathy, where I got word for word communication that was about me, from people that I was interacting with. Some of it good, some of it not so good. And what really shocked me was it flowed right through me with no opposition, with no emotion, with no judgment, with no condemnation. And then the voice in my head said, "Well, how do you like this another level of consciousness, of which judgment, negativity, and condemnation doesn't exist? So we will never obtain telepathy without the ability to perceive it in love. So we will
Oh,
move to a
yeah.
plane." We will move to a level of consciousness of which we can receive that communication back and forth in a very loving way, in truth, because that's why I chose the name, or they chose the name Athena in Truth, is because truth is love. That's really what the best description of love is. And so in the universe as a whole, telepathic communication is the way of things. But there is no judgment, there's no condemnation, and there's no negativity. There's just the truth that each are revealing to each other, and it is received at a level of love, or the vibration of love. And I was really surprised by that, because I used to think, how is this going to work? And then when I actually felt it, minus judgment, minus condemnation, and not feeling negative or holding on to it, I realized what a shift in consciousness can feel like. And it's the same way that you turned into a woman or you turned into a man. It's just one day you turn around and you've arrived at something that you never thought was possible.
Or you can't conceive of, because you're in this other place. So I've never told anyone this except for the people that it's occurred with. One is my son, but and another person. I'm like, I can read your mind. Like, I
Mhm.
know exactly what you're thinking, and he's just like, and I'm like, no, really, I can't. And some of it was kind of negative, but you know why it wasn't? It couldn't affect me because it was about him. It was
Yeah,
I don't, I've never understood it, but for me, it's that idea that I felt like my higher self was knowing his higher self, and yet he was speaking these, thinking he wasn't speaking. It sounded like he was speaking, but I'm hearing his thoughts, and I was like, I would answer him. I'm like, no,
yeah.
that's not what's
Well, and
happening.
that would always be because of the love state that he holds with you, or the openness that he has between you as a human, would cause his field to be open.
No,
He
he
would
didn't like that.
But the divine part of him did. It would be in a
Yes,
where you would not
yes.
get access. So, for example, when I do a session with someone, the human aspect of them could come in very closed, and therefore, the informational part, or the part that I would receive communication from, which is what you were getting it from, I wouldn't have access to it. So he inadvertently left the field open. Let's just say that, to the divinity part of himself, and therefore you were able to receive that communication. And even though him as a human would think that he wasn't doing it, there was a knowingness part of him, a higher part, if you will, that did allow that in his love for you, that he just let it be open. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that happens in sessions too. I can get someone, not very often, but once in a while, I'll get someone that has closed their field. Maybe they're doubting, maybe uh, they don't believe, but yet they've scheduled an appointment for whatever reason. And I'll quickly feel that in the field, and I'll just tell them, you have to open your field, right? They have nothing to offer you. I can't. I'm not a wizard. I have to be able to access what it is that that is within you. So you're kind of merging, if you will, with the divine part of them and providing a conduit for them to come through. And the divine part of them works for them. It doesn't work for me. So
Yeah.
if they're in some way doubting, or they're in some way fearful, or for whatever reason not comfortable with the process, they would inadvertently close their field. And in that state, you're not going to get anything.
Yes. Wow. And yeah, I was thinking about that too when you were describing the future, and it's this idea of with permission, with my permission. It's my authentic expression. It's who I am. So yes, you have access to that. And
Yeah.
what a beautiful place when I feel like we are coming into that now in 2024. And we're stepping into these ideas of expression, a higher self, consciousness only. We're communing on different levels and accepting that and channeling and Akashic records and different things. And it's that idea that we're expanding our understanding, like growing into that mature being out of puberty, and with permission, I give you permission to see who I am, to know who I am, even if I can't recognize that in myself right now. And
Yeah.
I think that is a very powerful gift that you have and that you give to others. Absolutely.
Yeah, and everything is really being summoned by those that are thinking about it. And the observation that people have about extraterrestrials and the interest that everybody has in it, and a lot of the information that's coming out through channelers and actually even the government is
Mm.
creating such a desire for people to know more. So the concept of aliens coming or arriving is one that is very possible because the focus is in that direction of wanting to view that, wanting to understand that, wanting to know more about that. But it is still a creation. It is something that a tone or a vibration has to match in the desire to receive that interaction in order to have it come into fruition.
Yes, because you talk often about we're always creating. We're
Yeah.
always creating. And
In the way that we want to feel. And one of the funniest things to me that I have to laugh at sometimes is even spirituality is a creation of sorts in the way that people want to feel it. There is nothing that exists in the universe, and that would include your spirituality, that is real. It is everything of the way that people want to feel in the concepts or the things that they're contributing in the lives that they're living that create reality. So it can turn into a real mind twister when you really start to go down that rabbit hole.
yes, I have to be careful. 'Cause sometimes I do say that there's levels that we speak on usually. There's reality with a small r, reality with a capital R, and the absolute. There's the absolute, every time we talk about it, we can't, the words
It
aren't it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so does it mean that higher perceptions of love are not felt, or higher planes of existence don't exist? No, but it means they have been created by those that would like to experience the way that that feels. It's still a creation of sorts. And so I think it's important for people to remember that you are choosing all the time in what it is that you want to feel in your experience, and what it is that you want to feel as you become reunited or re-emerged into the whole. What is your contribution going to be? What is it that you want personally to see in the world in the way that you feel? Those are all things that you have access to or available to you in the way that you live your life.
Well, does Athena want to tell us anything? Would she like to share anything with us?
Sure. Well, I'll let her come in, and if you have any correct questions or any direction you'd like to direct her in, that would be helpful. If you can do that, um, how does that sound?
Yes, sounds good.
Okay. Doesn't take us long to come in. Yeah. As Robin said, we are thought provoked. It's a good thing she didn't think about us while she was talking to you, or we would have taken over the interview. Yeah. Happened a lot in the beginning because she was thinking about us when she should not have been. She's starting to learn how this goes a little bit better. What is it, the direction, or what is it that would be satisfying to you that we could talk about with you right now?
In your book, you mentioned emotions as guiding, talking about negative emotions and now moments. And I feel like it's because there's those little moments every day we might miss that are so beautiful, but our heads get wrapped around the big thing that just, getting fired from the job. Is there a way we can focus? How would you guide us to focus more on
Yeah.
The beauty,
Well,
the joy, the love, the peace.
as you start to understand the process that Robin gave you a little bit of an overview in how you are actually creating in your experience, you can have a little bit more control over the direction that you take or the way that you do it. We want you to understand that there is a definite process in manifestation, and many just talk about focus. There have been other descriptions of ways that a human can actually get into their experience what they want, but we go into it a little bit more in a technical response that you have these energy centers that are within your body. There are seven located in your body, and each one of those are representative of an area of your life or an expression. This being your verbal, this being your clarity, this being your relationships, your control over your life, the sacral center being physical form expression, and then the root relating more to money or the way that you are experiencing your experience to the degree that you want to. Let's use that. Yeah. So you have all these energy centers that are all representing parts of your life. So any human in any given area could have really good things going on, and at the same time have some things not so good going on, and that would be dependent on the life experiences they've had, the lineages that they are a part of, and the way that they have felt during those things. And each one is. Affected. What primarily can happen is as a human feels its experience, let's just use the clarity one, for example. Maybe they're not real clear. Maybe they second guess themselves if they have to make a decision. They're getting some intuitive hits, but they're not able to follow them. They feel as though they invite people into their lives that perhaps don't turn out to be the way that they thought that they would be, and so they start to doubt their ability. Let's use that to choose in any given area with clarity. And so, why does that happen? Well, because every one of those energy centers can be affected by your life experiences.
Mm.
So, if you've had experience that has caused you to distrust, or you've been violated by a betrayal, something that really affected you emotionally, then that would get deposited in that energy center. And then you would go on to get mirrors or reflections back to you that would reflect someone not being truthful, someone betraying you, these types of things. And the reason that this happens is that you've inadvertently hung on to an energy that is still creating in your experience, but you're doing it unconsciously. You're not really aware that you have it in there. When you start to invite this observation aspect, that is the divinity part of yourself, that is pure awareness. When you start to observe yourself in pure awareness, that love energy or high vibration energy permeates the field of where the human is holding on to something of a lower tone, and it actually starts to vibrate it out of the center and therefore get it released. That is the reason that self observation is an effective mechanism at removing entrapments out of the field that are creating unsatisfactory feelings in the emotion of the people's lives. That's what's actually happening. And so a human can figure out really quickly if they look around in their life where they're dissatisfied and how they feel about the dissatisfaction, what the emotion is that they're actually hanging on to. And then they can move to healing that emotion by surrendering to it rather than disliking themselves as being angry, disliking themselves as being jealous, or any other emotion that they have attached to. They can actually move to self love and understanding. This is what we call knowing the self. They move into this very loving, understanding, and kind, supportive place of this unconditional love that is coming from the source part of them in their awakeness, in their awareness as they are watching themselves. And then it enters into the human field where they are perhaps hanging on to something that they've become controlling, that they are angry, that they are jealous, and they don't like themselves in it. As you hold a tone with this type of direction, or you think that you are the emotion, you vibrate at a much lower tone than your source, and therefore you cannot drop into the flow state or the place that things would come to you automatically with no effort. Yeah. So summarize for you, you have a feeling, you release the feeling. The divine receives the feeling, it elevates the feeling, it creates the experience, and they come through flow. But in the problematic state, you have the feeling, you hold on to the feeling, you become the feeling, you stay in the low tone. The universe still receives you, it still creates what you want, but it stands there idling and waiting, cannot enter the field because you are not a match to it. This is the very simplest way that we can explain manifestation to you, is that you, in fact, do it. You either allow it or disallow it by what you have chosen to hang on to in your negativity that you are directing towards yourself in your free will to choose how you feel in your experience. Yeah, we know that's a mouthful. But we could go through each one of the energy centers, and everyone is going to emanate a similar emotion because as you hang on to things, more and more mirrors or more and more things that make you feel that way keep coming to the field. When the energy center gets laden with emotion, it has no option other than to transfer that energy down into the next energy center, because it doesn't want to stop spinning. It doesn't want to totally stop conducting energy, because it knows that this would not be a healthy thing for the human. It would be something that would cause disease in the human body. So it transfers it down into the next center. And then all of a sudden, in your verbal communication, you are starting to feel the same way that you did in your clarity. You're starting to get people that are betraying. You're starting to get people that are making you feel in a way that you felt in the other energy center, but you still don't recognize it. And then the mirrors pick up. Now you're getting it in two spots. You're getting it not just in clarity, but you're getting it in your communication. It stays here for a while. You still haven't noticed. It gets bigger. It travels down now, goes down into the heart center. Pretty soon relationships are now affected in the same way, and you're feeling the same emotions. Sometimes we pick up a few other ones. There'll be some other things that start to tag along with it. But generally, what we find is that what we call an infection or an emotion that is traveling throughout the field, we'll find it in almost every energy center before we're done with a client, and then assist them in understanding how they have hung on to things, and then teach them the method of feeling and releasing and letting that energy out of their field so that they can actually get what was created by everything that they felt. There's never a time that you've done something wrong. There's never a time that this human exchange between the divine part of you and the human is wrong. There's no effort to be done. There's no changes to be made. You are allowed to feel everything. You are allowed to have dissatisfaction. You are allowed to have emotions that perhaps you hang on to and cannot let go of. The problem comes in when you move into the judgment phase or the condemning phase or the pushing and efforting phase, that you try to make the human do something that it is not ready to do. That's what actually grows the entrapment and causes more and more dissatisfying experiences to come to you. It's a very easy process once one learns how they create and they understand that there is this sending and receiving device between these energy centers and the divine part of them that is always culminating experiences together. They are working together. It is never about the story that you think it is. It is never about the person that you think has caused you to feel a certain way. It has always been about the feeling that you are holding that is creating in your experience. Once you can really adopt this understanding and you can let go of the idea that you are somehow being punished or treating badly by the universe or victimized by it, then you can become a master of your experience. It is about you feeling and releasing. It is about you taking responsibility for that which you are creating by the way that you feel. It isn't about the other person. It isn't about the experience. It's about you not allowing yourself to feel the way that you feel about the experience. So you have this divine part of you and this human part of you working in union together. So every time you have a negative feeling in the way that you are perceiving something that you are looking at, whether it be a person, a circumstance, or a situation, and you are feeling negative about it, the horrible intensification of the negativity that you feel is you distancing yourself from the field of what you've already created by what you have felt. The minute that you decide to choose a different emotion, to love yourself in what you have felt, to release it from the field, you're going to feel energy coming back in, which is a feeling of relief. And that means you're closing in now on the universe delivering to you what it has created by everything you have felt. You see, we're sorry we talk at a rapid rate. Sometimes we get criticized for it. It's not something Robin can really control. It is the way that it runs. Yeah.
I would invite our viewers, they could switch the rate down a little bit if they need to, but I'm in love with what you're saying. It's just really beautiful and hits home, and it's very powerful. Self-love, loving ourself while we're having anything negative, anything stuck in our lives, any place that we've become stuck, loving ourselves will start to have the energy flow back the other way. What about the idea of those things that happened as a child? Those things, if there was something in our history of real abuse or neglect or betrayal, and what do you say to someone who cannot forgive, who can't
You don't
because
have to. Oh, if you heard our take on forgiveness, you'd
yeah.
probably drop your jaw, yeah? We don't really believe in forgiveness. We think forgiveness is a natural thing, that when one is not capable of harming you anymore, you flow forgiveness to them very naturally, something that just comes right out of you, yeah? So the idea that people are pushing, and demanding that people forgive people, sometimes is why the resistance is met. It is because the human's detection system knows that the one that in fact caused them harm is still capable of it, yeah? When a human comes to you earnestly, openly, and genuinely in their surrender and in their accountability for perhaps hurting you, that forgiveness will just flow right out of you very naturally. There will be no efforting on your part at all. It will be just the naturalist thing that happened. And as far as self love goes, when have you ever offered someone your love, your admiration, your gratitude, and not received same? It is the way of the world, and it's the way of the universe. So as you emanate this gratitude, this appreciation, just for living your life, just accepting what it is that you are feeling in this way, admiration, gratitude, and appreciation, the universe will absolutely just wipe that right out, and you'll be released from the cell. But if you oppose yourself, if you go against yourself, and if you deny and you condemn and you judge, you will be met with that same feeling. Yeah.
I always feel like there should be another word for forgiveness, which which doesn't involve the other person. It's
I'll
free.
surrender. I surrender to what I feel.
Oh, I
I
love
surrender.
that. Yeah.
I
So
choose.
it's, yes, surrendering to what I feel, but not wanting that person. I mean, for
Why
me,
would I want to make myself feel differently towards someone that harmed me that's still capable of harming me? Why would I think that is a good thing and a spiritual thing to do? Why would I not just look within myself and know that what I am feeling has a very pungent feel to it, and love myself in that feeling and accept myself for the reason that I chose to send that to the universe? I prefer not to have people like this in my life, is what the universe got from that. And therefore, that is a valid emotion. And once again, you have already released it to the universe. So you are wasting your time trying to suck it back out, because that is not possible. Simply allow what is felt and let it be released. Take everyone else out of the equation. This forgiveness idea makes it feel as though someone else has influence over you. Well, to some degree, maybe they have influence over you if you are emanating a negativity towards them that is coming back at you. That is a possibility, yeah. But if you could just accept the reason that you feel unforgiveness and love yourself in that, then you would have no retribution at all, would you?
that I love. But and you said take everyone else out of the equation, bringing it back to self and self empowerment and self love, which you speak about so powerfully.
Yeah.
And self-worth. I feel like as humans, we walk around, by the time we're 3 or 4, we're told you don't tie your shoes the way your brother does. You're not as smart as your sister is. You're not as good at swimming as the A team person. We start to compare, and we I feel like we have a sense of that we don't feel worthy.
Well, you don't feel good as you do it. This is the problem
Yeah.
with the that they don't often recognize their own guidance system or the tools that they have within them to discern what it is that they are doing, whether it is good or bad thing or healthy thing for them to be doing. Yeah. So it is to just to understand that you are allowed your feelings, you are allowed to emanate anything in the form of an emotion that you want to, and that no one is judging you or condemning you. You would, in fact, do that to yourself, you see.
Yes, we are judging and condemning ourselves. And sometimes it's hard to move out of that sense. It's almost like a cocoon that we give
Well,
ourselves.
now you're in the human, now you're in the state of unconsciousness. The minute you
Yeah.
start thinking about what you're gonna do, you've gone to sleep because you can't do
Right.
it. All you can do is feel your experience. That's the best description that we could give you. Feel your experience, be done with it.
Yeah.
When you start efforting, when you start thinking, "How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna change this? How am I gonna make this better?" You have slipped into the realm of something that you're not capable of doing. When you can't let go of something, you simply allow that. "Oh, you're pissed off right now. You can't let that go. It's okay. I'm not condemning you. I'm not judging you. I'm allowing it, aren't I? I am not trying to change the way the human is perceiving experience, and that includes, not letting go. That includes not believing. That includes not trusting. I'm not gonna violate its, free will for anything. I'm gonna let it do whatever it wants, and I'm gonna flow unconditional love to it because that's what your source is doing, and as that unconditional love enters the field, it's gonna transform or transmute all of the negativity that the human is holding, and that human is gonna be, just like puberty, roll over into being a different human, the one that they want to be, the one that they'd love to be, the one that they've longed to be and have not been able to obtain on their own, is gonna unfold into them very naturally with no effort. When you
Okay.
start efforting, you're asleep. Wake up. There's no effort here. There's no changing. There's no condemning. There's no do-overs. You've done it. The moment you felt it, just let it be. Just love yourself in what it is that you are feeling, even if you don't like the feel of it, and know that the divine has received the preference that you prefer by what you have sent. That's all you need to do.
Yes, that is it. In your book, you mentioned several times, it's that easy.
It
It's
is that
that easy. It's that simple. And it is. I think if we are loving ourselves and allowing everything else that comes.
there is a great call, whether people know it or not, coming from this plane of existence for the return of common sense. It is something that's left the plane. Yeah, people want it back, because with common sense comes knowing, comes the ability to choose in a direction, that is satisfying to all that are involved, you see? And many humans, have started to, digest or attach to, some false falseness, false teachings, false ways of being, inauthentic expressions that have actually removed common sense from the plane.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about. The common sense with being with each other, or
Yes, with and the way that they express to one another, the way that they conduct themselves. Let's use that term. Yeah, they go out and perhaps do things without any thought of what it is that they are doing. They do not consider how others are perceiving or feeling in any given situation by putting themselves in that situation. Yeah, in the past, earlier times in your communities or in your interactions with people, common sense was a good part. My silo is full, yours is not. I will share with you. Yeah, these types of abilities or perceptions were readily available in earlier times, and we've gotten away from those ways of being.
yes, I loved in your book where you spoke about selfishness and selflessness as both not really helpful.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. You will get one with the other. Yeah.
Yes, and I forgot how you said it now, but it was like selfishness is mirrored back by receiving that, and selflessness is like, well, I keep doing all this for so many people and no one's helping me, or no one's doing this for me, or no. So either way, we're mirrored back something that is less than, I would say, desirable from most
Yeah.
people. We
And
really
then
want that balance.
yeah, that is not balanced. That's exactly what happens. Yeah. And then once again, the whole idea of that section of the book is to show you the idea of perception and how it can be implanted in you. There are many on your plane who will take selflessness and implant it upon themselves or in the view of another as being a trait to be desired or better than, let's use that, than any other. Yeah. And we used that example to show you that anything that is imbalanced is not necessarily a good thing or something that brings a positive response.
So I'm hearing that this common sense is this idea. Honestly, for me, it goes back to our authenticity. Authentically, we have that spark that recognizes ourself in the other. We recognize the spark of the divine, or the source, or whatever we want to call it, life in the other. And if we can see that in ourselves and see that in the other, we would do for ourselves and the other what would
Think
feel.
about the word common sense. Our
Yeah,
sense is common. It is together. It is known. It is united. It is a feeling of not separateness. Common
yeah.
sense is something that brings together an understanding of union.
I love that. And to just change gear just a little bit is that you have told us that everyone has the ability to channel, and we're all channeling anyway, since we are in these body bags for spirit expressing. So something we're channeling something always. What's the best practice to settle into that, channeling this effortless
Yeah.
source that is within?
Well, first and foremost, we would say things change dependent on the vibration of the planet. Now we're moving into a quickening time or a higher vibration, let's use that term. And so perhaps in the lower tone, when the earth wasn't vibrating at the rate that it is now, people could actually channel. And it would be considered at a more lower rate. Maybe it was self-serving. Maybe they were pedestaled. Maybe they were forming cults, but they were still able to cultivate a connection and able to channel and able to bring people in, yeah, to attract them in by what it was that they were doing. Now it is moving into a time where the more higher level vibration is mandating a higher level of communication or something that would be more humanity serving. Let's use that term. Yeah. And so it is just to understand that you looking at why you want to do it. What is it that would be satisfying with for you in doing it? For Robin, it was, I'd like to have more confidence. Yeah, that's what actually
Um,
attracted channel of Athena to her woman and her confidence. How I have the power of a man, but yet be could be the softness of a woman. So that was combined in that stream of consciousness she entered, of which I was a part of. Yeah, and so what you would channel or who you would channel would largely depend on what would be satisfying to you in the vibration that you hold or what it is that you are preferring to feel in your experience. Let's use that term. And so even the channeling experience is somewhat attracted to you in the way that it'll make you feel. And you would agree, as you go out in the world and you look at others that are channeling, they all offer in a little different way, and they draw a little bit of a different audience that is connective to them or vibrating at the tone that they are at. That's what actually happens. And so making a decision first and foremost in how it would make you feel. Why is it you are seeking what it is you are seeking? What is it? Are you a person that is self-serving others anyway? Do you just love to be in service? Do you love helping others because it makes you joyful? Or do you help others because their need for you or the way that they view you makes you feel a certain way? And so this is not right or wrong. We're not calling it right or wrong, but there's two very different perceptions in why you would want to channel. Yeah. One would just love serving and would serve anyway. And one likes the way serving makes them feel and the way that others look at them in it. Let's use that term. And
Mm.
now in your society, you would condemn the second. You would automatically say that that's a bad thing. But the universe doesn't look at it that way. So it would probably permit you to channel and you would actually express in that way. Yeah. That would be two ways that you could do it. But Robin was really directive of the way that she wanted to do it. She does not want to take credit for it. She does not want to in any way be changed by it or viewed as higher than or better than or doing something that someone else could not be doing. She does not believe that. She believes anyone could bring this experience to themselves, and that if they did the self-observation and actually had the desire through doing that to open their energy centers, that they would receive more flow in, and in the higher vibration that they become a very attractive quality to be a channeler. Not all channelers are fully activated Kundalini people. Some channel and have never activated their Kundalini, but the ones that do almost always become a channeler. So if you have a great desire to be one, going about it through activating your Kundalini is a good way to heighten your chances at having that experience. Because why is that? Because the consciousnesses that are wanting to come through and teach in the higher vibratory realms know that Kundalini energy creates a magnetism, something that attracts people to it very quickly and gives them the spread ability or the ability to transfer information quicker at a faster rate. And that's what they want to do. So that's one of the reasons that people with active Kundalini almost every time become a channeler.
You said that was really beautiful, inviting us to question our motives, not being right or wrong, but just observing what it is about it that is important to us. I'm really new to the energy center idea, the chakras and everything. Of course, I've heard of them for a while now in my studies. Even today, when you described the way we hold an energy in one place, and then if it fills up, it'll cycle into another energy center. So we find several and more areas in our life blocked. How are we to work that backwards, cleaning up the energy centers? Is it intention? Is it
Well, as you focus upon these energy centers, you will connect in to them and you'll be able to sense or feel energy. And what does it feel like? Well, when you have an infection in your finger and you hang it upside down, it will begin to throb because there is a lot of fluid already contained in the infection. And now, as you tip the hand downward, more fluid starts to run in and you get a large throbbing feeling or feeling like this can't go in there. Yeah, it is full. And so when you start actually focusing on your energy centers and opening yourself up to the divine column of light that you can actually conduct and bring into yourself, you will start to load more and more energy into those centers every time you do that practice. It's a building process. And so what will happen is as the energy starts to build up in your system from doing the process, energy centers that are not able to take on energy because they are laden with emotion will begin throbbing, and you will become very perceptive at detecting that. It'll be undeniable, actually. It will throb to such a degree, just like an infected finger, but it will be either in the throat or in the chest, wherever the energy is overwhelming. The energy will not be able to penetrate it. The recommendation is when you find one of those energetic blockages or overloads of energy, that you primarily stop the practice on all of the other centers and focus primarily on the one that you have that is blocked, that you continue to ask yourself to present experiences that you felt and experienced that might be be contained in there. Your divinity part in that invitation will run vibration through the energy center, and you will have a recall, a remembrance of something, maybe as a child, or maybe even in viewing of your parents, in something that got caught or trapped in the center. Then you move to satisfying yourself in the way that you felt about it. You will start to recognize that made me really angry, and I'd never liked myself in anger. That made me start to be jealous, and I never liked myself in being jealous. Now I get this revelation or this realization that I simply experienced something that caused me to feel a certain way that had an effect on my system. That's all that happened. It's not a bad thing. It's not a right thing. It's not a wrong thing. It's nothing to judge or condemn or get caught up in. It's just me observing myself in unconditional love and what it is I experienced and how I felt in it. And then I can gently start to remove those entrapments one at a time from the field. This is the practice.
That is specific. I appreciate that. I feel like I can do that without a lot of knowledge of the energy centers. I mean, I do work on balancing my centers, but now I know kind of what to look for. And there's these questions, they are in the book for our viewers and listeners, that there's questions we can ask ourselves, which you just mentioned. So I do want to honor our time. Maybe I have 20 or 30 more questions, but we'll bring Robin back and let our viewers just enjoy this exchange that we've had. I appreciate you so much, Athena.
We are in great appreciation for being invited to participate in what you are doing in the raising of humanity and in awareness that people are gaining by being able to visit or participate, let's use that, in many of the things that you are doing. It's been our great pleasure, and we hope that we meet you again someday. Yeah,
Yes, I hope so. Thank you.
good day. Okay.
Hmm. Wow. Yes, Athena speaks very quickly through you.
Some people get really aggravated by that, and I've really tried. And actually, even as Robin, I'm finding that that is kind of happening. I really try to control it, but it just doesn't seem to respond. And you know what? In some sense, maybe I don't really mind it that much. I guess I would have to start minding it, and maybe it would respond to me.
There you go.
But it kind of feels natural, so, that's kind of the rate I move at. If you could see me in my house, I might be boiling noodles, I might be vacuuming, and I might be doing 5 different things at one time. That's just kind of the way that I am. So I think that's probably why this experience comes the way that it does.
Well, and for me, it's exciting. It's uplifting. It's energetic. It's powerful and it's empowering. So I feel that energy behind it all, and I feel uplifted by it, which is why I'm just thrilled to have you on the show today. I think it's important information, and what you shared with me, I just appreciate so much.
Well, thank you so much. I'm really grateful to be invited on, and I hope that we get to meet again.
We didn't talk about your well, let's talk just briefly where people can go to find out more about you.
Yeah, I have a website, Athena In Truth, my podcast, my YouTube, all of my courses, interactions that I've had with Heidi are all on there. And then I have a new website that is now launched called Athena Universe. That's going to be more of a coaching, one-on-one communication, more through writing and verbal recordings and things like that. So you can check that out. I am participating in the Sedona Transcendent Soul Adventure retreat that's coming up in September. That's the first live event that I've done before. So I was a little nervous about that at first, but kind of gotten over that. So I'll be doing that for 3 days. I think it's September 17th, 18th, and 19th that I'll be there with a bunch of other channelers. They're putting on some type of a retreat there. And so really that's kind of everything's on my website. I do private sessions on there and have courses and things like that. And they can just check it out and see if anything resonates with them.
Well, and you mentioned that you have a membership course where people can write in and questions, and they
Yes,
will
that's on the
get.
Athena Universe site, so they can there's a membership under there where they'll get, written transmissions that are of a very nice high level, and they get recordings 3 times a week, I think it is. There's different levels that you can belong to, and I think included in that is you can email in for questions if you're having a struggle in your life or something that you don't have time for a session or there isn't one available. This is another way of communication.
I love that offering. Thank you for doing that. And I just love the work you're doing in the world and your commitment to yourself and the uplifting of others, allowing them to love their life and live their passion, because that's my passion.
Yeah, it can
Mm.
really be fun, and, you can really, just go out and be the stinkers that you are, and you're still met with love. You don't have to change anything.
Be the stinkers that you are and love it.
Yes,
Revel
absolutely.
in it.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it and appreciate it very much.
Oh, good. Well, and if you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe and share this with a friend. They're going to get something out of it. There's too many gems in here to count. There's too much gold, but they can slow down and listen again. And they're going to love that and visit the website and sign up for that membership. That just sounds awesome. And I invite you, the listeners, the viewers, to just this week laugh, love, and live enlightened, live in mastery. That's how Athena speaks it. Live in mastery all week. Enjoy your life. Love your life. Love this minute.
Thank
Thank
you so much.
you.
Have a great day. Thank you.